Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community. Just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody, to another live. And listen, we got a great football game going on right now. So we'll see. If we got a bunch of questions, we'll stay on. Otherwise, I just saw the Chiefs scored a touchdown to go up out of halftime. And so if we don't have a ton of stuff going on, I'm going to go watch the game. But let me know. Let me know what you got going on in your world. Let me know if you've attended a boat show. I know what the Chicago show is going on right now. The Minneapolis show is going on right now. Where else was there shows? What is it? The 20th. Cleveland. Cleveland's either this week or next week. But a bunch of shows kind of kicking off right now, and it's cold. And as Ray mentioned, almost 3 feet of snow. I know in Tennessee, in Knoxville on Lake Loudon, they had some marinas, the roofs collapsed with all the weight of the snow. I know that kind of happened in several places around the country. So yeah, we got some cold weather. Love to talk some boating if we got questions. But if not, we'll call her short and go check out some football. So let's see, Herb, all need this cold. I have lots of boat projects I need to get working on. No snow, had a few nights in the 20s, hoping everyone took seriously. There no cracked blocks. Yes, for sure. I know Texas got hit last year, a couple years ago. Here are the Carolinas. I know 7 or 8 people that had cracked blocks because somebody said you don't need to worry about it. And we had a big cold snap. I think we got 17 last night, that's getting close. If you got some wind, if you're not stored inside, certain that that can freeze it just hard enough. Doesn't take much. That ice as it expands, it's stronger than anything, and it's going to cause some issues. So hopefully nobody that watches here has got it. Sarah, welcome. Been watching for a while. Good to have you on the live. Welcome. That name sounds somewhat familiar. Like maybe we've emailed or something before, or maybe I've seen you in the comments of the videos. I don't know. But welcome, Rob. Looking at a 26 Shap Cobalt 350, 25 Yamaha River Coastal Joyriding. 4 adults, 2 adults, 2 adult. Okay, like 2 adults to 4 adults and 4 kids. What the extra 70,000 buys with the stern drive boats. If you're coastal boating, I would not go with the stern drive. I just, the Volvo's got their closed cooling system, which is better than the not. It would be the standard Volvo is equivalent to the Mercruiser Secor. It's a closed cooling system. It's got more stainless steel, more parts that are going to be more durable in the saltwater environment. But even with that, I'm still a bigger fan of the outboard over the stern drive in the coastal environment. I just think it's a better platform all the way around, especially if that boat's going to spend any extended periods in the water. If you're dry stacking, if you're trailering, a little bit different. But if you are staying in the water for any overnights, the outboards are better because you can tilt those outboards all the way up out of the water and make that work. So 26 Shap, probably the R6 or R8 Cobalt, or the 25 Yamaha. So the difference between the Yamaha the Yamaha jet drive and the stern drive, if you're looking stern drive to jet drive in the coastal environment, most of the time, just because of the salt water, I'm going to go the jet drive. Now, you can't, I would never leave that boat in the water, in the warm water, more than a day or two. What happens is in that system, in the jet drive system, it pulls, where's my boat at here? So you know how the jet drive system works, right? It's got a intake about right here. It pulls it up into the impeller and then out that nozzle. Well, what happens in the saltwater and warm water is you can get some of those barnacles, you can get some growth going on in that internal system that can be nearly impossible to get clean without taking everything apart. And if you've ever scraped barnacles off anything, it can be very difficult. So I don't like jet drives if you're going to leave it in the water at all. I just think it's too big of a hassle. Now, if you're not leaving it in the water, I would go outboard over stern drive. But if you really like the stern drive, make sure you get the closed cooling system. Jet drive versus IO. So we'll take that. There's a couple different things that you need to think about. But jet drive versus the IO. Advantages. The IO can trim. So if you are going to be running and you get caught in some chop, I don't know, Rob, where you are for sure, but if you're out in a bay, so if you're in the bay, what happens is you get some waves building up. They're coming in an inlet, depending on where you're at. That stern drive allows you to adjust the angle of the drive so that it can adjust the attitude of the bow. Get your bow high, you can ride over bigger chop. You don't have that option on the jet drive, so you don't really have a trim system to keep it up. If you're just cruising and coastal joyriding, the stern drives are going to be more comfortable, okay? So it's going to give you a more comfortable ride. Taking the mechanical part out of it that stern drives don't do as well in saltwater. But you're going to have a better, more comfortable ride with the stern drive. The outboard will give you that same thing because you can tilt or trim that engine to give you a better ride. Where the jet drive, they're static, and you're just going to have to use the throttle to adjust your attitude a little bit. And it's much harder if you're up on plane that you're at that angle of attack. So that's what I would suggest. 70,000 buys with the stern drive boat. So what that $70,000 buys is Cobalt and Chaparral. Their build quality is here. The Yamaha build quality is here. There you will see, even if you just knock on the hull of the boat on that 255 or the 252 Yamaha versus the Cobalt or versus the Chaparral, you'll hear a more solid sound on the Cobalt and the Chaparral. You will also, when you look at the, they call it fit and finish, but you look at the details inside the boat, the thickness of the upholstery, just the recess, the way wiring is run, the thickness of the cushion padding, all of these little things, the thickness of the windshield, the supports, the hardware, all of those things are going to be more stout and more sturdy on the Cobalt and Chaparral versus Yamaha. And I say this as a guy that sold Yamaha for, I don't know, 5 years or so. And I sold a good number of them because they were a fun, sporty boat. And if you want a fun, sporty ride, quick acceleration, fast, sharp turning, sports car-like handling, Yamaha jet boat. If you want a Cadillac comfort, more enjoyable cruise, more luxury cruise, Cobalt, Chaparral, Sea Ray. Like that, those are, and again, I would put the outboard on on all of those in that category, whatever the stern drive is, but those are more premium. You could throw, you know, if you wanted to put Monterey, Crown Line, you want to put some of those mid-tier, the quality of those boats is going to more match up closely with the Yamaha jet boats. Okay. So that's where the $70,000 comes in. It's the quality of the build. And the engine is maybe, I don't know, these days, $5,000-$10,000 of that. But most of it is just build quality. So hopefully that helps. And, oh, that's right, TC. Yeah, Tom sent me all the pricing from Chicago. And Milwaukee is this weekend. Milwaukee is also next weekend. Chicago. Oh, okay, there we go. Let's just continued on. So Chicago was last weekend. Minneapolis was last weekend because they awarded the best innovation. They got the innovation awards, and the Lilypad Revo ladder won, which is amazing. I saw that at the boat show. Actually did a video with Ed, the brother-in-law of the founder and inventor, his sister's husband. I forget what his name is off the top of my head, but anyway, it's a family business. They've won. This is their third innovation award. Super, super nice guys, super nice families, and great products. If you're looking for a easy to board ladder, I got an email from somebody this week and they said, hey, we need a better ladder that's easier to get on for older people. And this Revo ladder kills it. It's awesome. And I think they're going to start selling it as an aftermarket add-on now that they've got a bunch of manufacturers on board, and they've got Barletta, Bennington. I think they just recently signed Crest. But I think they've got like 6 or 8 manufacturers now that are using their ladder. And so they were going to hold off to offer it aftermarket until they really were planted firmly with the manufacturers. And so anyway, that was Minneapolis. And then, yeah, I don't have my list up that I had last year to reference. So thanks for keeping me in check. Thanks, Ray. Hey, Bo, good to have you. Welcome. Iker Uzgan, welcome. Good to have you. All right, here. Sarah, my husband, Zach. Okay, yeah, that could have been that Woodward name. It jumped out of my head. So good to have you here. Family come to visit. Took them to the Portland Boat Show. The Portland Show, nice. How was that? I have never heard much about the Portland show. So Yamaha has the jet drives. Yep, for sure. Yamaha's got their jet drives. And I think that comment probably came in. So hopefully I explained the difference there in my thoughts. Rob, put another question in if you've got it, and be happy to go through more of that. Dave, good to have you. Welcome, Frigid Central, Indiana. Single digits over the past week. Yeah, my parents are from Nebraska, or live in Nebraska. I'm from Nebraska. And my mom said they were -10. And they're like, they finally had to go to the VFW to meet all their friends out for burger night because they were just sick and tired of being in the house. So yeah, it is cold. Sustainability, good to have you. Welcome. Thought on those box triangle anchors. I have not tried the triangle ones yet, but the box anchors are amazing. I'm a convert. Thanks to Hux up in Minneapolis. He got one for his what do you have, a 192 Yamaha jet boat that he ran, and he swore by it. I bought one specifically to do some testing. I never shot the video because I didn't like the footage that I got, but I tested it, and the box anchor holds incredibly well. Now, with that said, it's heavier. So if you're in deep water and you're hand over handing it, now you might have a windlass maybe on your Bennington, I don't know. But if you're hand over handing it and you're in 50 feet of water, like I was at one point when I used it, it's heavy to pull in compared to I think it's partly because it doesn't go through the water as well as a Danforth, because you've got the chain just kind of comes up. That big box is sitting there, and it's given more, that surface area is given more drag, right? But they hold incredibly well. I haven't tried the triangle version. My thought is it probably holds just as well, but I have not tried that one yet. But the box anchor, I can say, yeah, if I can get in my bottoms, we've got like really muddy clay here in the south. So it's a really dense, thick clay, but soft enough that the flukes will dig in. And I can set any boat anchor in almost any conditions with enough line, a chain, and the Danforth. But if you've got some more challenging conditions and you just don't want to mess with it, the box anchor is near foolproof in my experience. So that Bayliner did some much needed maintenance on their website. Seems they discontinued the E22, brought back the E16. Yeah, I wonder if that has something to do with the pandemic, where everybody, including the entry-level boats, were trying to push everybody up in size. They had limited production. They had limited raw materials, so they were running short on resins and upholstery and foam and all that. So they pushed all of their production lines to the bigger, more expensive boats. And Robalo did this. Chaparral did it, which is the same company, Marine Products. Bayliner did it. Cobalt did it. Who else did it? Sportsman did it. Key West did it, I think. And you saw some of those, the smaller, more entry-level boats fall off in 22. Maybe it was some 21, 22s, 23s, and now they're bringing it back because they need to get that value boat. They need to get that price down to make sales. So interesting. Had a video idea, wondering if you'd be interested in doing a bow rider tier. Oh, I got one, man. Let's see here. Videos. Best and worst bow riders. Let me bring that over here. So I've got it right here. I did this 2 years ago. Best and worst bow riders and deck boats in 22. So that's a little bit more recent one, but this is the full one with 25 minutes long, 44 minutes long. This one's got almost 200,000 views. That one's doing a lot better, but it's similar content. So that is out there for those that want it. But I do need to update those because just like you said, there's new models being brought in, old ones being brought out. Since I did those, Cobalt's redesigned. I did it on the R5s. They're now on the R6s or R8s. So everybody's starting to redo their models now that we're through the pandemic. So it's probably time to redo all of my best and worst. my ranking. Jason, good to have you. All audio are just me. Hopefully it didn't drop out for everybody. I'm just seeing that. So let me know if for some reason audio still here for me. Okay, good deal. Hey, 211. I also sent Michaela an email this morning or this afternoon. I was working at Panera while my daughters were shopping for my oldest has her cheer banquet, and the cheer season's coming to an end, so she had to shop for a dress. So I dropped her and her sister off to do some shopping, and I went and did some just tedious catching up on old emails and stuff like that. And I sent your now wife an email. So tell her to respond to me. And come on, Buffalo. We'll see. I got it on in the other room, but all right. Oh, Yamaha did 350 V6. Only problem is it's a 4.3, not a 4.2. Yeah, the new ones. I think we talked about this last week. I expect the Yamaha V8 outboard. I expect that we're going to hear about the Yamaha release coming up with probably a 350 V6, I think, 300, 350 V6. And then maybe there was talk about something new coming out in the V8 line. So we'll see what that is, but I would expect to see that coming soon. Brock, good to have you. Welcome. You're welcome. Good to have you here. I think that's Iker Uzgun. Portland wasn't as nice as the Seattle. It was pretty nice. Had to close early due to the ice storm, though. That's no good. Yeah, I mean, the Seattle show is tough to beat. Seattle's one of the biggest ones in the country with the number and style of boats, and also the length. It's like 10 days long if they're still doing it that way. What licenses, if any, do you need to boat in coastal water? Nothing. Just whatever state you're in, you would need to follow their state guidelines. So North Carolina has a boating certificate. New York has a boating license requirement. So it's dependent on the state that you're in, that you would just need to get your boater safety certificate or your boater's license if they have it in that state. Like I've got my, let's see, I'm in South Carolina, but I might have a North Carolina one. I don't even know what state it is. Okay, I've got my South Carolina boater education card. So that just says I took the course, I passed the test, and I got my card. In some states, it's an actual license. I know Florida's got one. North Carolina's got one. South Carolina, it's based on age. New York, I know, has one that I think it's maybe next year it goes to everybody. But I've got a video on that as well, Kings in the City, or just search boat license in the state. But there's no coastal boating need. Now, if you've never boated in the coastal environment before and you're considering it, I would highly, highly recommend shameless plug. I would highly recommend taking advantage of this program, the Confident Coastal Boater program, where I go out with a what is he? Might be a 100-ton master that runs charters on the North Carolina coast. He grew up in Baltimore and Maryland somewhere. Ran on the Chesapeake. He's ran here. He's run boats in Florida. So he's been all up and down the East Coast. And him and I went out for 2 full days, and we did the video and just how tides work, running inlets, operating in the intercoastal, reading navigation markers, weather, how to use the VHF radio. All of that stuff is covered. So you take the state boating class and you learn good information, right? But you don't learn practical boating skills that you need all the time. You don't get all of that. So in the coastal environment, because listen, in North Carolina, there a lot of the boating is done on the coast, but there's a lot of inland lakes, so they have to build it for everybody. And when you do that, you miss out on some of the important stuff. So we talk about maintenance of boats in saltwater. We talk about really everything, and there's also some, like, if you've done any of my courses, I don't just teach you the information. I then give you exercises. So you go out and you start building your skills from very simple skills to getting more confident to more challenging situations, but we do it in a safe manner. So we don't throw you out in the challenge right away. We start you real simple with the knowledge. Then we start building what apps can you use if you're going offshore, if you're going near shore, if you're going through the intercoastal, if you're running in rivers and bays, all of that stuff. And we just sort of build it up. So, and that's out there right now. So I think I can probably take that beta off. I think we got been 20 around here. Not, not a scorching 20. BC, welcome. Good to have you. Zach, we were considering the Yamaha AR for tubing surfing. Is it worth waiting 1 or 2 years to get the XD with the twin 4 cylinders versus the twin 3 on the AR 220? So I don't know. I don't know enough about what they're going to be doing with the new 4 cylinder. I can say that I've run the AR, the 21 AR with that engine on the twins, and it's good. Here's what you need to consider. So one, I don't know this, Zach, but are you boating now? So here's something that always goes into my thought process for somebody that's looking to buy a boat. Should I buy now or should I wait for the prices to get better, for this new technology to come out, for the new model to come out, whatever? So I'll give you my thoughts. Number one is, if you have a boat now, then that takes this off the table. But if not, are you willing to give up 2 years of boating fun and memories to get that new, what may be better thing, right? I don't know. Number two is, I'm never a big fan of buying the first generation of anything in boating. It is too small of a marketplace, and they're not doing as good a job as they did. And it's always been somewhat of an issue, but it's gotten more and more recently in, let's say, the last 15 years or so, 10, 15 years, is the R&D is stopping once they get it to a good place. They're putting it out on the marketplace, and they're sort of letting the customers do some of the breaking for them to find out, do we have an issue? Do we not have an issue? It used to be a Mercury. I'll give Mercury example. They had Lake X. Lake X is a secret, undisclosed location in Florida. They've got a lake, and they would just run boats. Like, they would put thousands and thousands of hours on their new engines to test them. So they would go out to Lake X, and they would try to break everything, and they would run it through real world situations, and they would just pound it with hours and hours and hours. And now what they're doing is they get it to a place where, okay, this seems good, but they're not ability testing that they used to. They're selling it, and they're working with the dealers and the certified service departments and saying, okay, when something breaks, you let us know, and we're going to keep a database of, are we seeing the same thing break over and over and over and over? And if so, then we are going to address it in the next year. Okay. I don't like that. I don't want to be the one that spends, $90,000 on an AR-22, and I'm the one that's durability testing that new engine, right? I don't feel I think it's a shitty move on the industry's part. It's for profitability, and consumers are putting up with it to a certain point. Although we're losing more and more new boaters all the time, I think, because of it. But they're so focused on building the latest and greatest, newest technology, and the autonomous docking, and we got to meet EPA standards, and we've got to have the remote control joystick docking, and we've got to have all the electronics, and we've got to have all the the tech that goes with it, and they're just trying to stay up with that, and they're not putting as much effort. So I understand why they're doing it. I just disagree. I think it's bad for boaters, and I'm a boater. I'm in the industry, but I'm a boater, and that I think it's a shitty way to do it. So that's another piece of it. Okay, that even if it comes out in a year or two, I would still wait a year or two after before I bought one. And that's not Yamaha jet boats. It's anything in the boating industry. Like, I would have never bought a Switch right out of the gate. I would have never bought the Rotax outboard that they're putting on the Manitous and the Alumacrafts. I wouldn't have bought the Mercury 600. I wouldn't have bought the Yamaha 425 when that came out. I wouldn't buy the newest version because I've seen it as a salesperson. I'll tell a quick story. We got a new Sea Ray. They redesigned the 210 and the 230 SLX. Okay. Sea Ray, great company. They were even better back then, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. This would have been 09. This was probably 2011 when they redesigned it. Well, they redesigned it, and we got one of the first 5 that were built, right? So in our showroom, and you start going through it and you realize you've got to start taking seats out to get to the engine compartment, even to like check the oil. Like, there's no easy access to get in and to check the oil. Really, it was, if you looked through one of the blower vents, you could see exposed wood. The engineers didn't see this, and nobody caught it, and they wanted to get this out of the market right away. They shipped it to us. Now, they got it fixed in the next couple production runs, and they made changes to their build. And they said, oh, well, we got to encase that in fiberglass, and we got to adjust how the sun pad works, because they wanted to do this fancy, like multi, what do you want to call it? Position lounger in the back. And they did a crap job. Well, I was like, I'm not selling that to anybody. I'm just not doing it. It's a bad design, and I'm not putting somebody in that situation. And the next model year, they had all those kinks worked out, but they were shipping them, and they waited to the dealers to say, whoa, we can't sell this. We got to fix this. I remember our owner is like, I'm calling Sea Ray right now because this is unacceptable. And he'd already bought it, so we had to sell that boat. And unfortunately, somebody bought it, and somebody had a subpar experience. So that's my personal take on the new stuff. And frankly, Zach, I don't know anything about what Yamaha's coming out with their 4-cylinder. So I don't have any insight on what they're doing, what's going to be better. It's going to be new. It's going to have more tech. But the current 3-cylinder is rock solid for them. So there's nothing about it that I would say, oh, you don't want the one that's available now. But I would say I don't want the new one until it's been put through a season or two by other people. I would prefer Yamaha did this testing, but they're just not going to do it to the level. They're going to do a bunch. Don't get me wrong. They're not just shipping it with a bunch of flaws, but they're not going to do enough, in my opinion. Most manufacturers are not going to do enough, in my opinion, for me to want to spend my money on it. So I'll give that same advice to you guys. So it's also why I don't take money from manufacturers, because if I was taking money from Yamaha, who I think builds a great product, I sold a lot of those boats. A lot of people that have watched my videos, some of you people here have bought Yamahas and love them. And I think they're awesome. I think they're a ton of value for what you spend and what you get. I think the jet boats are fun for the right people that want that more sporty thing. But if I was taking money, I wouldn't be able to say, I'm not so sure about the new tech. I wouldn't buy it the first year, because that's when they want the most people to buy it and then get the excitement going. And it's why I sell my other products, and why I ask for contributions and things like that. And it's helpful. So anyway, that's my point there. Let me know if that's helpful for you. What's your opinion on the Makeo 118 are the skiff circa 2010 to 2018. When did White River buy Makeo brand? Okay, so Makeo is like many boat companies, like Chris Craft, like Glastron, Four Winds, even Sea Ray and Bayliner. They've gone from being one thing, then they were bought by a corporation or bought by new owners, and they kind of changed their DNA a little bit. Makeo was bought by Tracker in '97, so the pre '97 Makeos are built vastly different than the 2010 to 2018 Makeos. Now, they were one of the best hulls, and still those old Makeo hulls are highly desired. If they're in good condition, the structurally, they haven't had water intrusion, they haven't delaminated. Repowering those, there's a lot of people down in South Florida that love them. The skiffs and I'm not sure what the 18 LTS is, but they become more of a value brand. So what Tracker has done is Tracker's trying to get the mass appeal, new entries into boating, and so they've dropped the cost. When you drop the cost, that means you have to use less, more inferior, cheap labor to bring those costs down. Are they terrible boats? Frankly, I don't know. I've not run any in that age group, but I will say they're probably value built. But it's a skiff. It's a flats boat. Let me pull up that 18 LTS Makeo 2010. So it's going to have a little bit of a rougher ride, but again, it's a skiff, it's a flats boat. You're not going out offshore. You might get stuck in some chop, but you're not going to be going out in terrible conditions. But here's what I would check. I would check and make sure that where the deck and the hull come together, I run my fingers, and these boats are built the same way real boats are built. So this right under here is where, if there's issues with the build quality, that they can get, and you can kind of see it like this. Like if you press this in, you can see that gap that forms. Well, that happens on boats. Less expensive boats is more common because the fiberglass isn't as thick. The fiberglass is more prone to warping. They may not be put together quite properly, and there may be some gaps. So you want to run your fingers along under the rub rail and make sure, especially in this back corner right here and right under here, that there's no big gaps in there where water could potentially be getting up in there. You also want to take your big screwdriver, and you want to tap and make sure that there's no water intrusion, there's no delamination, you don't have any rot going on. In some of those, you may have some wood. I'm not sure when they would have made their change. It should be mostly out of it, I would imagine, but I'm not 100%. So you want to definitely do your tapping and make sure you're solid there. And then the good thing about a used boat like that is even a 2018 is 5-6 years old, and you'll be able to see where they cut costs to bring the price down. Okay, so you can check in some of the, like if we were to look at the pictures here, let's see if we can. I don't want access. I just want you to show me pictures of the boat. Let's see if we can see this one. But if I was, why do you guys not want people to look at the boats you're selling? So what I would look at is, like, there's probably some plastic versus stainless steel hardware on the boat. The stainless steel is probably 306 versus 316 stainless, which means it's more susceptible to rust. If they took great care of it, hey, you'll be able to see this 306 stainless is in great shape. perfect. They took good care of it. You do the same, you'll have a lot of good success. If you get on the boat and you notice, oh, this cleat is all rusty, this hinge is all rusty. Well, they didn't take very good care of it, and now you can step back from that. So that's a good thing about a value boat on the used side, is if it was cheaply built and that's going to be an issue, it'll show itself. You'll see rips and tears in the upholstery. You'll see the big butt impression on the cushion. You'll see hardware has broken. You'll see latches and hatches not matching up properly and not closing properly. You'll see them broken. Great. You can make your decision. Is that important to you? Hey, if I can buy this boat for $5,000 less than a Montauk, great. I can put new stainless steel hatches or latches on there. I can replace this. I can buff that. I can put some elbow grease in it. And for $500, I can get this boat to a level where I'm going to love it. And as long as the engine's in good shape, as long as structurally it's sound, as long as you're going to be happy with owning that boat, it can be a great purchase. For somebody else, they'll be like, this will drive me crazy and I don't want to put any effort in. I don't want to put any elbow grease in. I want a turnkey boat. Then it's not going to be a good choice. So hopefully heavy hev, that's helpful for you. Just the way I would think through it and what I know about the Makeo brand. So I'd love another bow rider tier just for fun. Yeah, it's time. And with boat shows, if I can make it to the right ones, I would hope that I can get one done for the 2024 season. They announced on the 17th. Oh, they've already announced it. Okay. Why did I miss that? Yamaha outboard release. October 17th. Are you kidding me? It was a rebate event. Rebate 300, or was that in conjunction with? There we go. All right. So yeah, so they've introduced the new 350 Helmmaster. That's their digital throttle and shift, so you can do joystick control with it. V6, largest intake exhaust valves. The 300, same diameter electronic throttle valve as the 450, precisely mapped fuel, standard. All right, so I'm gonna have to go through that one. I don't know how I missed that. How did I miss Yamaha's big release of that? I didn't see anything. I don't remember seeing anything on any of my feeds or any emails. So thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Score 24-20 Buffalo. That's what I need. I need just a high level updates on the game. Thanks, Jerry. Maryland requires boater cert, all boaters born after 1970. Yep. So a lot of them put it on a date schedule, and that started probably 10 years ago. So most of them are becoming any future boaters are going to need them. And but just go check it out. Just went over my. Good to see you. Do most dealers honor boat show pricing if I wait a week or two after the boat show to pull the trigger? Depends on their manufacturers. So here's what happens, Sam. At the boat show, the manufacturer has the rebate. The rebate may be just for the boat show, or it may be a nationally advertised promotion where they're doing their, super summer savings rebate, right? That's for everybody, and there's going to be dates of it. It may not sync right up with your boat show. Those are going to be honored after the boat show, okay? But there's also rebates where the manufacturers say, hey, listen, ABC dealer, you're at the Cleveland Boat Show this weekend, and we know we're competing against a really tough Chaparral dealer, a really tough Sea Ray dealer, and we're representing, we'll say, Crown Line. And we got Monterey. There's a good Monterey dealer, And so we're going to give you some additional boat show rebate money for people at the show. Now, here's what happens on the logistically at the end of the show. So the show ends Sunday, Monday by 5 p.m. They need to email them a list of all HIN numbers and owners' names. So it would be Captain Matt and this HIN number locks in the rebate. Now, you've got 30, 45, maybe 60 days to close to get that rebate. That's why sometimes on ordered boats, you got to be careful because that rebate may expire before the boat's done and get delivered. You got to get in writing that that rebate stands regardless of when the boat's delivered. Okay. So that's what logistically happens. So if it's a nationally advertised rebate, just make sure that you pay and take delivery, or really just pay, just do the paperwork and actually buy the boat before that date happens, and you're good. Okay. Now, if it's that other and it's just true boat show rebate, boat show incentives from manufacturer, from motor manufacturer, the dealer says we're just going to discount here, get in writing how long that's going to last. Now, as a salesperson, they're going to say, you got to do it at the show because maybe they get an extra $100 spiff for every deposit they get at the show, and they're going to push you into it. If it's after the show, if it's manufacturer money, it's gone. You know, if it's in that situation where it's manufacturer money, it could be totally gone and there's nothing you can do about it because the manufacturer is not going to step up in, let's say, 80, 85% of the cases. The good thing is right now, that boat's still costing them money, interest or curtailment. If they're heavy on inventory, you got a little bit of leverage to say, okay, well, if I'm losing that $5,000 incentive, then I'm just going to hold off, or I'm going to go over to XYZ manufacturer that is going to honor their boat show pricing. So it's a gamble. If you know you're going to buy the boat and you know that's the right dealer and you know that's the right manufacturer, that's the right model, it's the right options, everything's in line, I'm going to recommend you just put the deposit on at the boat show. Most boat show deposits are refundable. So there's little risk with a good reputable dealer that you put down $1,000 fully refundable deposit, and then you can walk away and get that money back. Okay. So that would be my recommendation if you know you're going to buy. If there's something else that you're going to wait, that a week or 2 weeks after the show, something's going to be drastically different that's going to make you more comfortable, then take your chances, have the conversation with the dealer and say, listen, I can't buy here right now because of X, Y, and Z. Will this be available in 2 weeks? If not, that's fine, but I'm going to go and look somewhere else, get it in writing and move from there. So that hopefully, Sam, there's a little bit of, it depends in that answer. But that is the reality in a lot of things. In North Carolina, you have to get a boater certificate born before 88. Yep, that's right. Jason, you're on Lake Norman, I think, right? You bought the Chaparral last year, if I remember right. Good to see you. Good to see your name in the comments there. Matter of fact, our boat show is coming up February 8th. So just in a couple of weeks here, hopefully I will see you there. Sam, depends on where they're at. Most coastal dealers here in Washington do, but a lot of Eastern Washington dealers charge a little bit more. Yeah, it's and there's some localness to it as well. There's some local, like, this is the way we've always done it stuff. Kansas City just scored. It's another back and forth. Thank you, Jerry. Just at the show deals over second. Yeah, and there's some that truly are. There's some that, as when the show's over, the leeway again. The dealer's going to want that list, or the manufacturer is going to want that list emailed to them. Whole ID number, last name of the buyer, and that's where I like, if you can do it, lock it in with the deposit. If it's refundable, you still have a wiggle to get out, but you've locked in the show pricing. And frankly, as a salesperson, that's what I sold. I was like, listen, There's no reason not to do it. If you decide to back out, I'm going to give you your money back. But if you decide to buy it, just make sure you get the deal, and make sure you don't lose out on that money. Casey wins, I'll end up at $50, a little family wager. I like that. Follow up on the reviews. I believe your last deck boat review was in 2020. Any new thoughts on Nautic Star? They're still mid-tier, their value. Now that Iconic has bought them, I haven't re-inspected them. So if you don't know, Mastercraft bought Nautic Star boats several years ago. When did they buy them? When did Mastercraft buy Star boats? Okay, so 2017, Mastercraft bought Nautic Star. 2020, was it last year? When did Mastercraft sell Nautic Star? 2022. Okay, so 2022, they sold them, and they sold the brand to Iconic Marine. So Iconic Marine they've been buying up some manufacturers. They've been performance. So they've got Donzi, they've got Fountain, they have got, what's their third one? Donzi, Fountain, crap. It's another, Baja. Donzi, Fountain, Baja. They've got those three brands, so very much performance brands, but they bought the Nautic Star brands. Now, as far as I know, they didn't change anything other than ownership, probably a little bit of management. So I don't know if they made any significant changes to their build processes. Probably in September, so they were already building 23s then. So they probably wouldn't have changed anything in the first year dramatically once they took over. But for the 24 season, maybe we'll see something. I think they'll be at the Charlotte show, so I'll be able to check those out. And it's why I need to, every couple of years, I need to re-update that list, because things like that happen. So it's new ownership from what had it, 2017 to 2022. It was all Mastercraft build, and in my opinion, Mastercraft did them a disservice. I don't think they ran the brand very well. There's a lot of consensus of that in the industry. There's no reason that Mastercraft shouldn't have been able to keep that brand highly profitable and good, reasonable quality. But they just did a lot of things, cheap things, that was disappointing when I inspected them. So anyway, if I can inspect them, I try not to comment on boats that I haven't inspected in those, and I have to limit it. So I have to limit it to a category under whatever parameters I set, and this is what I'm going to review, so that I'm not comparing a Yamaha jet boat to a Starcraft deck boat. There's just too many differences to really compare them. So I try to do them in the proper segments, and I'm going to try to get more narrowed down in some of them, so that I can do 18 to 22 foot, because this is what happens in bow riders is the 16 or 18 to 23 foot is built this way. The 25 to 30 is built another way. And that, I think I need to do a better job of reviewing those. Find your new boat yet? I found it 98. Yep. It rips. Buffalo to win, because I think they're easier for the Ravens to beat. There you go. Got to have your ulterior motives. Nice. How much do used boat accessories add to the value? For example, a nice stereo, but trolling motor. Yeah, you're exactly right. So the way I look at it is, if most boats have one in that category, it doesn't add a ton of value. So if it's got a stereo and it works, well, if it's a stock stereo or if it's a $5,000 upgraded stereo, you don't get much value for that extra stereo. Now, If it's got extra speakers and it's got amps, maybe you'll get a little bit, but $500 maybe. It's going to be limited. If it's something like a wakeboard tower or a trolling motor, or a like brand new electronics. Now, when I talk brand new, I'm like the latest and greatest Garmin. Then you get a fraction of the value. You might get 50% of that value, and go to NADA guides, and you can get a general ballpark. But if it is, oh man, I am way behind. Thank you, Matt, for joining, becoming a member. I appreciate that. You can, if you hit somewhere on there, it says join or become a member. You can help support the channel and some of the stuff that we're doing here. With the, I think there's deckhand, admiral, captain. I don't know what I named them, something a long time ago, but I do appreciate it. It helps me keep doing what I'm doing. But all right, so where were we? Oh, okay, there we go. So yeah, it depends what it is, but if it's a canvas cover or a bimini top, well, guess what? Most bow riders are going to have those. You don't get any extra value. And if it's, a trailer, you don't get extra value, even though you can build it into the NADA guides value. You don't get extra value for having a spare tire, or you don't get extra value for having diamond plated fenders. Like, it's great. It's going to help you sell it quicker, but it doesn't really boost the price up anything significant. Maybe a couple $100 here or there is all that you're going to get. So think about, I see all of these boats have stereo. All of these boats have canvas cover. All of these boats have, I don't even know what, bimini top. All of these boats have rocket launcher rod holders. Well, then you don't get extra value from those. But if it's uncommon, then you do get the value. But it's less than what most owners spent on it. She's packing 250 horse with the Alpha Drive. Yamaha offers the 1.9 and some of the new 22 boats between the 3-cylinder and the supercharged engine. Jason, all right, now we've got to. Are you you got to let me know if you're the chaparral guy or if you're not. Now I'm thinking that maybe with the Yamaha comments, if I've got you mixed up with somebody, would really depend on what they're mounted. Probably couldn't get much extra cat. Yeah, that's also very true. Is what is it on, and how new is it? If it's like the electronics on Garmin, if you're a generation or two old, there's one or two newer out there, it's virtually worthless. I mean, that's how quickly it's what I was talking about with the manufacturers. Why they don't R&D test like they used to is because the technology is changing so fast that if they get behind on the technology, they can lose market share a little faster versus having some dissatisfied customers. It's an interesting dilemma that they're in. I take the boater side, and that's why I say I don't want to be the one doing your testing. Could easily get some extra cash. Yeah, for sure. So if I'm selling a boat with the trolling motor, maybe I'll take that trolling motor off the boat and try to sell it as an individual unit, and just tell the person, hey, it's got the plugs, but you don't have the trolling motor, or I can sell it to you as an extra and see how that goes. Didn't see the Manitou at Chicago or Milwaukee show this year. I think what's happening is that there are several Manitou and Alumacraft dealers that said, BRP, I don't like the direction that you're going with this new Rotax engine, and wanting us to order the boats with that engine. And they said, just not doing it. It's a crap engine. It's a terrible idea. In my opinion, it's a bad move. They also redesigned some of their boats, which I didn't really care for on the Manitou. The lines of it just looked cheap. But then I saw Crest had similar lines. I wonder if that's the way of some of the pontoons are moving. I didn't care for it, but I'm not big on change. I don't like design changes. I think sometimes they can be, but then you'll come around, you'll see it more, and then you come around. So it might be one of those things. But I know they lost. I know one dealer in particular that had 6, 7 locations in the Kentucky, Ohio, Midwesty area, and they're like, yeah, we dropped them because the direction they were going just did not fit, and we could pick up another premium level manufacturer that I thought Manitou was a premium built boat, and then that happened, and I'm like, nah, I would not buy a Manitou because of it, because I think they're going to run that brand into the ground. My opinion. Anyone into pontoon saw South Bay has a new entertainment layout. Looks sweet. Yeah, they are. There's all sorts of entertainment layouts with the bars and converting bars. My parents have a South Bay 2014 maybe 22 tri-tune. That's great. Nice mid-tier boat that works well. And yeah, it's always fun at the boat shows to see the entertainment packages. They sell great at the boat shows. New boaters get excited about, oh, this is cool. And they do really well at the boat show. Keeping a boat for really longevity, the simple mechanic systems are better. Digital steering throttle may be difficult to maintain 20 years. Yeah, and you start to see it with, especially on the surf boats, Herb. On the surf boats, you're seeing some of the ECM modules of their screens go out. So they've got all these fancy touch screens, and the control modules go out, and that manufacturer is no longer in business. Because let's be honest, even if you sell the Mastercraft is still only building 3,000 boats, right? And if they're 3,000 of those screens, that's not enough to keep a high-tech screen manufacturer going, right? So if they go out of business, whatever cabling, whatever ECM they had, it can be tough to get it. And now you've got to replace the whole system, and it can be a big challenge. Same thing with the digital is, hey, if that manufacturer goes out or the technology changes over time, it's going to be difficult to get some of those, we call them higher tech parts. And I think that's an issue that that could come up. Yeah, if a shift cable, a steering cable, they're always going to be around, and because they're simple, and they don't have to be as specific, just the right length. Not to mention they're much difficult to service. Yeah, it's I talked to a lot of service techs, and like it went from your toolbox used to be the most important thing. Now the most important thing to have as a technician is a laptop. Like you can't diagnose hardly anything since we moved to fuel injected engines. It's no longer just I need a screwdriver and I can adjust a carburetor, a screwdriver and a 10 millimeter wrench and socket set. It can do most everything. Now, if you don't have that laptop, you can't do much of anything at all. Saint, thanks. Been used boats add-ons priced accordingly. They didn't know costs that should be passed on. Yeah, it's definitely a negotiating area that you can be like, listen, it's show them the NADA. When you pull up the NADA, it'll give a real value for a trolling motor. Now, it's not the exact trolling motor, but you can be like, hey, and yours is 5 years old. It's old technology. In a way, I can understand why they price them that way. Yeah, you put a $10,000 stereo in your boat, you're like, that's definitely got to be, I can get $5,000 out of it. The reality is, not really. We currently have a Sea Ray 185. Take us about 1 to 2 years to save the $20K difference in price. Thanks. You didn't realize. Just released the 1.9. Yeah. Cool. That's why having I try to stay up to date on what's going on. But if you're going down the path to buy a jet boat, you probably are diving a lot deeper than I have in what's coming out new. And that's why I love the community and sharing updates and everything. So, all optimize. I don't really know if anyone would buy. Yeah. Yep. Regarding buying engines, one of the reasons I went with the 400 because it was inline six. One of the it's I like it if it's proven. I know it's been reliable. They've been using it for 5-6 years. Hey, there if there was an issue, it would be all over the chat forums. You would hear it. It would probably we talk about it on my channel. The Team Marine would talk about it. Andy would talk about it. Aaron down at Boater Boating would talk about it. Somebody would be talking about it, and you would know to be on the lookout for it. But if it's crickets, you're like, that's what I want to hear on what I'm buying. I don't want to hear the marketing message that the manufacturer is putting out, because if you read the information on the Evinrude E-Tech or the G2 and the Rotax, you'd be like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But the reality is, in the real world, there are some major issues with them. Starting with, I don't want this to be a bash on BRP, but like this is the type of thing. Why are you not giving me a downloads? I could have swore I saved this. Okay. All right. So this is one of the things that I'm talking about. All right. So this is the Manitou Rotax engine. Okay. Looks great. I love this huge swim deck back there. That's amazing. But look at what you see right here. That outboard or that drive is outside of the hull of the boat. What happens when I come alongside and I'm maneuvering and I make a maneuver because the wind's pushing me one way or another? What's going to happen? My whole engine, that is my block, is protected in a super duper high tech air controlled, won't let water in ever system. But now I'm maneuvering by that dock, and one, my prop is probably going to hit it. Two, if the prop doesn't, the motor is going to hit it. And if it's hard enough, it's going to happen. It's going to crack something. It's going to break something. And now water's in my engine. And this is the boat manufacturer and the engine manufacturer working together with the engineering to build the perfect, newest, latest, and greatest thing. On the CAD designs, and when you're building it, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. But the reality of it, when you put it in the water and you start using it, the first user that goes and doesn't realize it kicks out, it's going to make a maneuver, and boom, you just cracked open your engine, the engine floods, and your boat's ruined. But you don't find that out. You don't find that out until you've already spent 100 grand on a pontoon, and then that happens. Those are the types of things that engineers don't see because they're so laser focused, but the end user will find too late. And I saw that picture and I screenshotted it because I'm like, holy crap, what's going to happen in that situation? Looks great for a photo shot. You can see they're independent engines, but when I turn to come off a dock, we already know that back corner, if you look at used boats that are over 5-10 years old, this back corner always has a ding on it. Why? Because somebody comes and turns. They don't realize that the boat pivots and doesn't just turn. This back corner, I've done it, has hit a dock fairly hard. Now you're going to hit it with your engine and maybe your prop. I don't know where the prop sits on that, but it just, real world of boating is going to show that. And I guarantee you that this year, there's probably less than 1,000 of those on the water, but I guarantee some of them have had failures because they ran into something in that situation. So anyway, there we go. All right. I promise no more BRP bashing. That is, but that's why I don't take manufacturer money. So anyway, I'll just say, anyone new, I've been around this guy for a few years. This guy is hands down the best boat guy out there. He has the real deal, not just with information, but he has principle. Thank you, Matt. That I appreciate it. I tell you, it's been hard because I've had people reach out to me to promote things that I think I could make good money on. Um, but I'm just like I've got on my board right now. There's a guy with a floating table, or a table. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, oh, why am I? It's like it's got fire on it. What do you call those? Anyway, it's a table that's got a little fire on it to like you would set at the patio and have a cookout around it, and everybody would gather around and roast marshmallows and tell stories and drink beers. Awesome on the dock, awesome in the backyard. But he wanted to promote it for pontoons, and I was like, I'll look at it, but I don't really like having fire on a boat like that. That's not a great idea. He's like, let me send it to you. I think you'll be surprised at how safe it's going to be. And I got it, and I'm like, I loved it. We did s'mores on it. We set it out back and did it just before Christmas. And I was like, I think it's amazing, but I would not put it on a boat. I wouldn't put on a boat with me and my kids. If you hit a wave and you fall into it, or if a towel blows and it catches on fire, I certainly am not going to recommend it to other boaters that could have those happen. And then a product that I recommended, I promoted, then causes a catastrophic event. It's not worth any amount of money to me. I told him, but I'm like, if you can enclose the flame and you can eliminate that open flame part of it, it's awesome. You did a great job building it, but it's something that is something I think about a lot. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you becoming a supporting member. Firsthand experience with a lot. Yes, yeah. I've been very fortunate to be around boating people that have been in the industry a lot longer than me, a lot smarter than me, and have had the opportunity to see a lot, factory tours, run a tremendous amount of boats, and still there's far more that I don't know than what I do know. So, oh, there we go. What are your thoughts on the Rotax 2, the Manitou pontoon BRP? Yeah. So, Sam, I didn't even know that question was out there, but I think I was pretty clear on it. But the biggest things on the Rotax is no matter how hard you try, how good your engineering is, if you put the engine block underwater submerged, at some point the seal is going to give way and water's going to get in there, and you get water in the engine, and you're done. And it may be great. I know that the service interval is like, hey, you don't have to service it for like the first 500 hours or whatever it is, 300, 500. But as soon as that seal is cracked for the first time from the factory, I mean, I don't care what it is. There are stern drives that leak, gear casings that leak because a seal gets off just a little bit. There's a little bit of dirt that gets in there. It wears. It bumps into the dock because of the way the engine pod is positioned on the boat. There's just too many things that can cause it to leak, and there's zero room for error. There's zero room for any issues with your seals and your gaskets and the system that is designed to protect the engine. And I'm not willing to put a $15,000 engine underwater and hope that a $5 seal works. I think it's a poor direction, and I think it's going to be a massive failure. And I've talked to enough boat dealership owners and service techs about it that they're like, we don't want anything. We don't want to work on them. We don't want to touch them, because they're going to be the ones that are liable. They're going to be the ones that the customer comes back to and says, hey, you just serviced my Rotax and now there's water in it. Oh, well, that's it's and it's just the G2 engine. It's just the Evinrude G2 that they discontinued as an outboard. And it's that same technology. It's just set on the side. So I think for a lot of reasons, I would never buy one. I would never recommend anybody that asked me to buy one. I think it's going to be a very, very costly and frustrating mistake. I see you got over 50,000 mark. Yeah, the since the this past year, it's been really interesting to see the channel grow. I mean, I went from 25,000 to 50,000 in about a year. But it took me like 5 months to get that extra 5,000 to get. Now it was in the off season for sure, but it definitely has slowed down as the new buyers coming into the market have slowed down. But yes, 100,000 is a mark that I'll be super excited to hit. Uh, does anyone know if I give him money on here, does YouTube take it? Yeah, they take a small percentage, but I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. The credit card processor or YouTube or somebody's going to take it. But any financial support is always very much appreciated, Matt. And so are the nice words. I really appreciate that. And if you want to leave a Google review just about the general what we do here, our Facebook review, those are always appreciated as well. My dear friend, I will be there in April. I'll contact you. I want to know what I can do for fishing. Love from Mexico. All right, well, let me know. I'm not sure where you're going to be, but I don't know much about fishing. If it's freshwater fish, Brock on the channel and some other guys have a lot of experience. Saltwater, um, I don't know if there's anybody here that does a lot of saltwater fishing, but the guys at Salt Strong have an awesome channel. They are incredibly knowledgeable about saltwater fishing, and they've got a ton of great content. They've got some great programs too, from what I understand. I think Brock is a member of that community as well, and has a lot of great things to say. And his opinion, I hold as a valuable one in boating. Um, yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. Hoping to go boating at Chilliwack Lake this summer. All right, so BC, that we gotta check that out. Chilliwack Lake in BC, British Columbia. Come on. I think I need a new mouse. My mouse has been acting up. Oh, that looks awesome, man. I bet that water is chilly. Yeah, that looks very cool. Looks beautiful. Good spot. Let's see. If I gave, say, $50, how much would they take? I don't even know. Um, yeah, it's probably like 0.5%. They all of any like once a month I get money from YouTube. Like I think this month I'll get like $800 total, for ads, for membership, for super chats, for anything that's come through. I think this month will be like maybe $900. It's starting to climb up as the boat show season's coming up, but that's the slow time. So I don't even know what they take out, to be honest. Um, yeah, Bo, you probably know as well. Still 20, 10 minutes to go in the fourth. All right, good deal. Is there another way I can help support? Yeah, like I said, Matt, the reviews, Google reviews, Facebook reviews are great. If you see my content, just liking it and sharing it. You know, the financial support is awesome as well. If you buy a program from me, any of my educational programs, becoming a member, wow, thank you. That is awesome. Um, yeah, it is. That's super cool. I appreciate it, Matt. And all right, I see I've been rambling a lot because um, I've got a whole bunch of questions lining up here. So all right, joining the channel. All right. No, sir. Been jet boaters on the coast, North Carolina, 15 years. Just sold my last one. Have a bay boat on the way. Oh, there. I was like, okay. So I'm sorry, Jason. I had you mixed up with, but I recognize your name. You've been in these chats before. So that's why I knew I recognized the name, but I had you. There's another Jason that bought a Chaparral at last year's Charlotte Boat Show that I had talked with. So um, let's see, man, I wish I could afford that 22 Classic. Yeah, there is. I had I did not, I'm not the one that sold it, but an 87 22 Classic that we had on brokerage when I was selling boats. And that thing was sweet. It was the tan and navy blue color scheme. Just classic. It sounded awesome, fast as could be. Um, Admiral. Thank you. Yeah, the Admiral is the top. I forgot what I named. I know it was Deckhand. I forgot what the middle one was, an Admiral. Just say to everyone, uh, guys, getting information that should be paid for save a lot. Thank you, Matt. That's awesome. When I sold my Ranger, I got about half of the 16K I had in electronics and live sonar. The graphs were about 8 months old. Yeah, I mean, it's that quick, especially the electronics, that as soon as the new one comes out, the old ones are 50% at best. And yeah, something to keep in mind. My old Bayliner, 30,000 into stuff, sold it for 14. That's when people ask me, they're like, I want to redo this boat. I'm like, okay, there's two schools of thought. Is one, you redo it and you got pride of ownership and you enjoy doing it and it's great. And you're going to keep the boat for a long time. Okay. But the other is you're not going to be able to sell it for what you put into it, money and time and effort wise. So love doing it, then jump into it. But you're doing it because you think you're going to have something that's highly valuable at the end. Is you probably not. Um, um, yeah, I don't think it's that much. I don't think it's that much. Yamaha knew what they were doing. The 350 V3, not a V2. They messed up my plan. Rough, these cold front. Yeah, I could imagine that the cold, and I don't know if the wind matters much, but uh, might have changed it. YouTube did change CEOs, which is another one reason big content creators are quitting. A report that came out 2 years ago. I'll have to find out what that is. About to purchase a new Tri-Tune, having a hard time picking motor and other features like the screen, thinking 200, 250, based on reputation, clueless. Also, under my business account, name is Matt. Chick-fil-A at Carolina Mall. Hey, so Carolina Mall, we were just at the, oh, thank you for TC. I appreciate that as well. Very much appreciated. Let's see here. So we were just at Matt. I don't know if this is the same Matt. Okay, yeah, different Matt. But I'm in Charlotte, so we were just at the escape room at Carolina Place Mall 2 weekends ago for my daughter's birthday. Did a little family birthday there. Had a good time. So anyway, okay. So here's what you want to think about as a pontoon buyer: is you got three choices. Do you want a pontoon or a tri-tune? Do you want the horsepower? Do you want, and then what layout do you want? So if you're talking 200 to 250, you definitely are going with the tri-tune. The question about is a 200 or 250 best, think about the weight that you're going to put on the boat. So the more weight you have, the more it's going to sink down in the water and the more power you're going to need to get that boat up on plane, up and going. The faster, if you're on Lake Wylie or Lake Norman, how fast do you want to get around? Are you going to do water sports? Are you going to do water sports with 4 people in the boat? Or are you going to try to do water sports with 10 people in the boat? That's going to lead me toward more and more horsepower. Now, a 250 on a good tri-tune, let's say a Harris, a Bennington, a Barletta, a Crest, anything with good solid 25-inch tunes, good solid build. That 250 is going to run, we'll say 42 to 45 miles an hour top end speed with 6-8 people on it of regular size, to say 180 pounds, and you've got 6 adults, 4 kids. You're probably going to run 40, 42 to 45, depending on the weight, the conditions, and all that. If you're going to do water sports, I can slalom ski. I'm 6'2", 225, and I can slalom ski and have done it on a 22-foot tri-tune with a 150 and we'll say 6 adults. My dad was on the boat. He's a large man. He's probably 325 at the time. And I'm a little guy in my family. And my wife, my kids, a cooler, my mom, my brother-in-law, and gear. And I drug. I had to hold my breath for a second to get up and going. But I'm a big guy. There was some weight in the boat, and I did it with the 150. So with the 200, you'll be in good shape. With the 250, you do about anything that you want. And then it's just a matter of the budget. Another thing that comes into play is the weight of the pontoon and the furniture. So if you get the bar version with fiberglass, like a Crown, a Harris Crown, or a Bennington Q, that's got a lot more weight on it because it's got some fiberglass. Take that in consideration as well. Heavier furniture, heavier fencing, all of that's going to need more horsepower. But you're fortunate. We've got a lot of good dealers in the area. I used to sell for the Lake Wiley Marine Max. It used to be Hall Marine. And Carl over there will take great care of you. They've got Harris. If you're on Lake Norman, what's his name? I just blanked on his name. But the manager up there Andy will take great care of you up there. The Lake Norman Marina has Bennington. The Kale family is a fantastic family. A lot of good people there. David at the Boat Rack, they've got South Bay, a good solid dealership. A friend of mine bought a chaparral from them, and they do a good job. So a lot of good people, but that's sort of what you want to think about. And if you haven't yet, watch my how to buy a pontoon video. Okay, so it's called The First Time Pontoon Buyer. But check out this video. It's an hour long, and I go through everything. I go through everything that you should think about to get started, and then test drive. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Chick-fil-A, and if you see me, I'll be at the Charlotte Boat Show at some point. I don't know. I'm going to hopefully be doing some inspecting and some videoing and stuff, but I don't know when yet. But if you see me, say hey. Would love to meet a viewer. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of mats. It's like my third grade class. We had three or four. No, we had 4 mats. Me, Matt Caswell, Matt Barada, and like I remember, like on Facebook, there was 4 or 5 of us actually, maybe. But Matt Lofdahl. We were a whole bunch of Matts in the class. It was very confusing. Must have been a popular 24/7 ball. Less than 2 minutes left. All right. So hopefully it's like last year when they went back, or a couple years ago, back to back scores. Front tend to screw the fish up. Fronts tend to screw the fish up more than anybody knows. KC with the win, 27-24. My daughter's best friend is from Buffalo. They were big fans. My daughter was torn. Does she cheer for the Chiefs because of Taylor Swift, and I grew up in Nebraska, so my nephews are all Chiefs fans. Should she cheer for Taylor Swift and my family, or should she cheer for her friend Evelyn and the Bills and Josh Allen? Soon to be a first-time boater, so I'm clueless over here. Yeah, Matt, check out this video. I think that will be a significant help for you to start getting zeroed in. And then the best and worst video of the pontoons, just to give you an idea of where different brands fall. And between those two will give you a really good idea of how to think. Chick-fil-A, ask any question, great place to learn, for sure. For sure. G2 ruined a sale for me last week. Found out real nice 20 Ranger. Yes, a hard pass on the G2. That's funny. Now I want some Chick-fil-A. Oh, that's good. Chick-fil-A. Bring one over to Washington. Closest one's Vancouver. Again, thank you, Matt. Yes, you're very welcome, Joe. Thank you, TC. And hey, TC, thank you for the additional pricing information that you sent over via email the other day. Appreciate it. Love seeing boat run, meeting fellow boaters. Sometimes these old guys with the old boats trying to tell me what to do. Get used to it, my friend. I'm sure they'll have lots of advice. Don't want a pontoon boat, but I like the open decks. Looking at maybe a mid-90s Hurricane. Plenty of room. Good, bad, ugly. Also the Sea Ray. Yeah, the Hurricanes, they're a fairly flat bottom, which means that in rough chop you're gonna feel it. Okay. The good is it's a lot of boat for the money. So I put it in the mid tier, and then that age range, I would say still probably a mid tier boat. The Sea Ray is going to be better quality. It's going to be more expensive. It's going to have a more of a dead rise, which is going to give you a smoother ride. I've run a lot of 98, 99 up to 2000. I mean, I sold Sea Ray to 2014, and I sold a ton of 99 to 09 240 Sundex. One of the best boats built, in my opinion, for family pleasure boat, lake boating. Tons of room, good comfortable ride, great handling with the 350 mag. It had all the power you needed. The 5.0 MPI was, if you were going to load it up with 8 people, it's going to be underpowered. If you're going to run with a family of 5, couple of kids, couple of adults, perfect. You're fine. But if you're really going to load it up with 8, 10 adults, that 5.0 is not quite enough. But the Hurricanes, they give you a lot of room, a lot of boat for the money. Just like I said with the other guy on the used, is on the Makeo. If it's a value, or if it's any boat, if it was cheaply built or poorly built, after 5-10 years, it's going to show itself. So you'll easily be able to find the things that you're like, ooh, and then it's a matter of, is that acceptable to you? The hatch doesn't close quite right. The hinge is a little bit wonky. There's some spider cracks in the gel coat. Nothing structural, but just cosmetic. A little bit of rust forming on some of the stainless. It comes with buying a pre-owned boat. That's why you get the discount. Just is it too much for your comfort level for a good investment based on the price, or are you going to be okay with it? And just check out my other videos. Get the toolkit if you haven't, Joe. Get the Boat Buyers Toolkit, boatbuyerstoolkit.com. It's free. You can download it. Also, I'm finally, for you guys that have been here for a while, I finally got my book finished. I sort of put it on hiatus through last summer, but I just uploaded it. It should be available within 2 days on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. Pretty much anywhere you can buy a book, you'll be able to get this. It is 200 and some, well, I think it turned out to be 210 pages. This is just sort of a placeholder, so I had something to talk about. But I was super happy with how it came out. That will be available in a couple days. But frankly, you can get probably more information easier if you like watching videos. But I wanted to do a book, so I did it. But anyway, the good is value. You get a lot of boat for the money. Just make sure you inspect it, do a sea trial, go through that engine, make sure it's in good shape. If I had a nickel every time some old boomer tried to tell me it's cheaper, I can go get it at Napa. My car alternator was only 99 bucks. Yeah. Chick-fil-A, my thoughts, if you can afford the higher up horsepower. Yeah, and Jason just went through the buying process last year. So it's good advice for if you've got the budget to get the bigger horsepower. You very, very seldom will be disappointed with that. And it's always going to help on resale because people on the used side are having the same thoughts. Do I get the bigger horsepower or the little? If you've got the bigger, they don't have to think about it. And huge help. I'll be there Friday. Got to narrow down my brands. As long as money's staying in the family, that's good. Yeah, little side bets on the chat. That'll be fine. All right, let's see here. I'm not a big card guy. A lot of off-roading and boating. Love my poker. All right, spades. We used to play. We played pitch. Played pitch when I was growing up with my family. We always played a lot of cards in the winter months, and then we played not spades, euchre. We played euchre a lot down here with a bunch of my buddies from Ohio. I think is where that game's super popular. But we always played that. A little bit of spades, but mostly euchre or pitch. Make your way up to Washington. Yes, that would be awesome to see some connections of story about boating mechanics. Actually, why is my chat is super slow? So all right, well it is. Oh, good. We did an hour 40. Got some game updates, so that's good. I think we will wind it down here. Yeah, that would be see you guys catching up. That's awesome. Again, thank you, TC. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for the support, for the participation. And I do really appreciate it. Stay tasty. Was helping a neighbor in his old Maxim. Had to explain to him that it was a V drive. He kept trying to tell me I didn't know what I was doing. Oh, yeah, it is. There's the old salts. They sometimes know everything when they know nothing. So, all right, guys, I'm going to call it tonight. We will see you next weekend. We'll go. The next Sunday we'll be off. We'll be for the Super Bowl, I think. And whenever that is, probably the 9th or the 16th. And we'll see everybody. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it. And we will catch you guys all next time. Sweetwater, Suzuki Tri-Tune. All right, Ken, I'm going to give you one quick second to put a question with that. If you're just telling us what boat you have, that's good too. We always like to know that when everybody's running. But we are about ready to wrap up. Be happy to answer a question if it comes quickly. Otherwise, welcome to the channel. Keep joining us for the lives. They are a lot of good times and a lot of knowledge in the community. So 246K, a good price. No, that's way too expensive. No, I'm sure there was a typo in there, but here's the deal. You need to go to NADA guides, put in the boat, put in the motor, put in the trailer. That's going to give you an average price. Okay. So the average price is average. That's good, bad, and ugly. So if it's in perfect shape, should be 10, 15, maybe even 20% above. If it's in average shape, which got some nicks and some dings and little, hours, it'll be at that average level. If it's kind of rough, 10, 15, 20% below. If it's saltwater, that automatically brings it down 10, 20% of the value that they show you. And that's how you want to look at it. Also check what are similar mid-tier brands going for on Boat Trader, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist in a reasonable area. Okay, 26K. Depends on if it's got a trailer, if it's a tri-tune or just a pontoon. But seems reasonable. Depends a lot on the condition. But do that NADA guides check. Go to Boat Trader, Facebook Marketplace. Maybe there probably won't be many on Craigslist in that age range. It'll be hard to find. And no, that's the list price. So what you want to pay is as low as you can. The magic money saving method that's in the Boat Buyer Academy is something that you might want to consider if you need some help negotiating. That's a super valuable program. But start with the NADA guide and see what that says, and then gauge the condition that it's in, and that will be the best way to kind of give you an idea. Is that a fair price? And it's an art, not a science. So those key areas will give you some indications. NADA being pretty good, Godfrey, and it might be. So Sweetwater is owned by Godfrey. I don't know if you search Sweetwater or if you search Godfrey on NADA, but that'll be what you need there. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Thanks everybody, and we will catch you all next week.